The fairy veggie godmother told me if I don't get this video out by midnight tonight, I'll turn into a... G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and in this video I'm going to give you my 5 top tips on how to grow a ton of pumpkins. Let's get into it. Speaking about turning into a pumpkin, I've grown and eaten so many of these in the past 12 months that I'm beginning to think it's possible. Pumpkins are part of the cucurbit family, which includes cucumbers, zucchini, button squash, watermelon, and even gourds. In fact, there are over 1,000 different varieties that you can grow and explore in your own backyard. Tip number 1, space. Most pumpkins grow on a vine that is always branching and expanding. So if you really do want to grow a ton of pumpkins at your place, you need space. There's one here and another good one here. Pumpkins are like toddlers. They wander around everywhere. So unless you cage them, like on a trellis, they will get out of control. And to some extent, unlike toddlers, you want your pumpkin vine to get a bit out of control, because often this leads to the vine rooting down in multiple places, drawing water and nutrients from a larger area, making the overall vine stronger and converting this energy into more flowers and subsequently fruit. I started this pumpkin vine in June last year. That's right, over 12 months ago. And all I did was I just planted a clump of seedlings that I grew in a pot right here in this corner. And from there, it took over the back of our vegetable garden. Most pumpkins are easy to grow and they readily strike from seed, either directly in a garden bed or in a container. Just cover with soil or potting mix, keep damp, and they should pop up in about a week. Growing your pumpkins on a trellis, like this tunnel trellis, can give you some control over the plant. But it also has several other advantages, such as saving space, looks nice, keeps the fruit off the ground, which helps stop rot and can limit damage from certain pests. Slinging the fruit, especially the larger ones, can prevent fruit fall and breakage. And one more thing, if you do grow them over a mesh tunnel trellis like this, just make sure you watch that the developing fruit doesn't wedge between the grate. Now, how am I going to get this out? There must be a way, there must be an easy way. Nah, too small. I don't want to put a hole in the mesh. Too noisy. Let's try this. It's a nice colour. I should be able to just push this together and get it out. Maybe not. What a catch! Got him, yes! Come on. Oh. Yes! What a beautiful looking pumpkin. That'll be dinner tonight. You could call it trellis ripened. Tip number 2, variety. The variety of pumpkin is very important because not all pumpkins are grown for eating. Some are grown for size, to win competitions, others are grown for their ornamental value, which is fine, but if you do want to feed off homegrown pumpkins, choose a variety known for its eating quality. There are lots of good and weird varieties of pumpkins to try, and I encourage you to try as many of them as you can, because they all have different traits and flavours. However, there are certain pumpkin hero varieties that not only taste great, but they are also easier to grow than others. And if the aim is to grow a ton of nice tasting pumpkins, you should seek out these types. Some examples off the top of my head are Jap or Kent, which is this variety here, Butternut, and Queensland Blue. But that's just 3 of the easiest and best tasting ones I know. Do you have any recommendations that you can write in the comment section so that we can all read them and then try to grow them in the future? Tip number 3, pests and disease. I've got a couple of pumpkins here that are lined up for the chickens and ducks because they just simply aren't good enough for the table. But that doesn't worry me. That makes really good eggs. Easy to grow varieties usually have good pest and disease resistance, but like most food crops, if your pumpkins become target for birds and perhaps rodents, you can try netting or harvesting the ripe fruit as soon as possible and leaving them to cure in a safe area. Fruit fly is a particularly nasty pest in this area. This pumpkin wasn't damaged by fruit fly, but they can be relentless in stinging the pumpkins over and over in the one spot until the larva finally gets through the tough skin. I've had better success, obviously, with growing the thicker skinned pumpkins and also through our subtropical winter when the fruit fly are less active. The vine itself can suffer from the standard powdery mildew, which causes premature dieback of the leaves. You can get organic sprays to help curb it. I tend not to worry about it, and if your plant is getting enough nutrients, water, and grown at the right time, it should regenerate new foliage. Tip number 4, fertiliser and watering. Honestly, I never consciously watered or fed this meandering pumpkin vine because I was scared that if I did, it might go out of control and grow like a triffid and take over the whole neighbourhood. Realistically, pumpkins do like fertile soil, plenty of rich compost and the odd feed of fertiliser throughout the growing season to give it the energy to produce a good crop. And being a large vine with lush leaves and big fruits, it should be watered regularly. Certainly if you see the healthy leaves drooping through the day, give the plant a good drink. The reason our vine has done so well, like I said before, is because it was allowed to roam around this back area and set roots all over the place to find nutrients and water it needed naturally. Now I can't get rid of it. Tip number 5, harvesting and storage. Doesn't this look beautiful? You know, we must have got at least 60 to 100 pumpkins from this one vine or cluster of vines planted in that one position that just sprawled all out over the backyard over this last 12 months. But whether you grow in a climate that you have a perpetual pumpkin vine, or if you're in a maybe cooler area where your season is very strict, like through summer and then come winter the vine dies off and then you harvest the fruit, the same principles still apply. Remember my video on tapping a pumpkin to see if it's ripe? Instead of tapping, what you do is you rub the pumpkin like Aladdin's lamp. And if Cinderella appears, well then you know the pumpkin is ready to be picked. Only joking. If you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it because I go into more depth on when to harvest a pumpkin. Pumpkins are ready for harvesting when they get to a certain size for that variety. They might change colour slightly or come away from the stem easily, or indeed the whole vine might die back completely depending on your climate. If you have decent conditions, you can leave pumpkins out in the environment to cure for several weeks, like I've done here. Or you can collect them and store them in a cool, dry area like a shed to cure before storing the best ones in a big pantry or storage area. any fruits that are blemished or cracked should be eaten first and or preserved through cooking and canning or freezing, etc. Well, I've got about 10 hours left before I turn into the proverbial pumpkin. So I better get pumpkining, but you know what I mean. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you don't be Jack and you give it a big spicy pumpkin latte thumbs up, and also share the video around, because that helps my channel out heaps. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm now a pumpkin.